Well, thank you all for joining us for the fourth contribution panel of our Social Responsibility of Algorithms workshop. My name's Catherine Daniel and I'm one of the workshop organisers. I'm based at the ANU School of Cybernetics and the Fenner School of Environment and Society. This session will work as follows. I'll call each of our panellists to our virtual stage to present just a 3-minute recap of their talk for you all. Hopefully you've been able to listen to some of the full ones online. And we'll then open up to the floor for questions to everyone here. And I'd ask that you hold all questions during the presentation. I'll also note that we're recording this session for release to other Social Responsibility of Algorithms 2022 participants after the event. So if you don't wish to be on camera, please do just share your questions in the chat and we'll have someone monitoring the chat who'll share the question for you. I'd now like to invite the first panelist to our virtual stage, Nick Mattei, who joins us from Tulane University. His talk with collaborators Robin Burke, Amy Voida, Nassim Sonboli and Fazad Nyan is entitled Algorithmic Fairness, Institutional Logics and Social Choice. Thanks, Nick.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Catherine. I'll share like 2 quick slides to give everybody the overview of what we kind of talk about in this paper. So the paper that was in the presentation is really a summary of a couple of different pieces of work that we've been doing, looking at recommender systems and situated in sort of specific contexts. So for this, we actually have some funding from the National Science Foundation, and we're working in partnership with a website called Kiva Microloans, which does microlending throughout the world. They have a really interesting setup because it is a nonprofit that focuses on both sides of the market, right? So they are a recommender system, right? In the sort of classical sense, like folks show up to the website suggests things for them to do, much like Spotify or Netflix or any other, basically every website you interact with has got some sort of optimization recommender system happening in the background. But Kiva, I think, offers a really interesting perspective because they really want to focus on, oops, my slides aren't moving. Oops, I've put the wrong slide in here. They have a real commitment to providing fairness, broadly construed, to both sides of their market. And I think that that's something that gets lost a lot in some of these systems is that, is this sort of multi-sided nature of when we talk about fairness in these technology systems, right? Because in the Kiva context, the providers, right, the items in the movies in the Netflix context are coming from individuals, right? They're coming from folks that are looking for loans to start small businesses and to get economic opportunity. But you also have fairness with respect to those consumers, right? Those people who are coming to the website in order to fund these loans, in order to either donate money or specifically donate money. And so I think it provides a really interesting context to study some of these fairness properties and how they not only affect individuals, but also both sides of the market. So I think I used a lot of words there. Hopefully folks are familiar with kind of the general setup of how recommender systems work. Really fairness, one of the things I talked about in the talk and something that we spend a lot of time on is, fairness. I, for one, am going to throw some shade. I get tired of going to CS things and people saying, oh, we need fairness, and then them stopping there with a definition, because that's just the start of a definition, right? That fairness is a intersectional multi-stakeholder concept that has different linguistic and technical meanings, and no one means the same thing when they use it. So if you stop your conversation with "we need fairness," you haven't even really started the conversation. And so that's a big part of this project as well. One of the Amy Voida is at the School of Informatics at University of Colorado, and she spends a lot of time working with nonprofits to understand what their value missions are, what their goals are, and how do we translate that in-person work into kind of technical optimization problems that we want to deploy within these recommender systems. So we've really got a lot of stuff going on in this project. That's a lot of fun. Again, yeah, we're working with Kiva. And so really the biggest thing that we're focusing on from a technical standpoint is, how do we allocate these, how do we first encode these fairness concerns, and then how do we deploy these at scale, right? Kiva serves something like 1 million users a day. I think a lot of things that happen, and Robin is really involved in recommender systems conferences and doing recommender systems at large scale, sometimes you see, for those of you more in the technical literature, it's like, oh, we're going to define fairness as this demographic parity thing, and then we'll just do that. That'll just make everything fine. It's like, okay, well, how do you do that when you're serving 1 million or 500 million people a day? How do you do that in flight with large, complex systems? It's not easy, right? It's easy to do on your laptop where you can run an offline optimization, but it's very difficult to do at scale in these dynamic systems. And so that's another part of this project. So lots of stuff going on. Really happy to talk to everybody about both the project and hear what the other panelists have feedback and what the conversation is going to be.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nick, for that. We're now going to move on to our next panelist. I'd like to invite Kathy Reid from the ANU School of Cybernetics to our virtual stage. Her talk with collaborator Liz Williams is titled Socially Responsible Representation of Accents in Voice Data, Considerations for Practitioners and Policymakers. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And I'm just going to share my screen. I'll confirm that you can see that okay. Perfect. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for that lovely introduction, Catherine. I'd like to provide a recap of some joint work with my supervisor, Liz Williams, who's on the call. And I also want to acknowledge today that I'm presenting from the unceded lands of the Wadawurrung people here in Geelong, about 80 kilometres west of Melbourne. So I'm going to recap my contribution in 3 very short slides. Firstly, I want to provide some context for this work. Voice technology, things like speech recognition, voice assistance, synthetic speech has exploded in recent years. Industry predictions estimate that by next year, there's going to be 8 billion voice assistants on the planet, more than 1 for each person. And among the 8 billion people on the planet, there's a huge variety in the languages that are spoken. There's over 7,100 languages still spoken in the world, but voice technology only supports majority languages, languages spoken by a large number of people, English, French, Mandarin. But even within those majority languages, there are huge amounts of variety. There's a lot of variety amongst the accents that are spoken. So accents are made up of many different things: phonetic pronunciation, the sounds that are spoken, the intonation, where the emphasis is placed, and lexicon, the words that are used. So you can probably spot that I'm Australian by the way that I sound, but you'd be in no doubt if I said something like, yeah, nah, mate, there's been a bingle at Broady and the Western's chockers back to the servo. For folks unfamiliar with Australian slang, that means, yes, my friend, there's been a car accident at Broadmeadows and the Western Highway's congested all the way back to the gas station. So even within languages, there's a huge amount of variety and a huge amount of diversity. And for some reason, my slides aren't going through. Okay, so the way in which we represent voice data and speech data used in technologies like speech recognition is really important. And at the moment in a voice or speech data set, you'll find data fields like gender, accent, and age of speaker. But those fields don't represent the variety and diversity of speech that is spoken in the world. Here I'm going to focus specifically on accent. An accent is usually represented as two-letter combinations, 1 part for language and 1 part for the country or region that the language is spoken in. And you can see some examples here today from the BCP 47 standard. So we can see that English is spoken in Great Britain, English is spoken in Australia, French is spoken in France, and French is spoken in Tunisia. And you can already see the problem. In one country or region, there may be huge amounts of variety and diversity that's hidden or obscured by a general accent code. But granular accent data is a double-edged sword. If we record accents in granular ways, more granular than country or region, we can ensure that speech technologies work well for those cohorts, the cohorts that are represented by granular data. But it also means that we can distinguish and we can discriminate against groups based on their accents. And then when we overlay that onto the geopolitics of the world, we can see the social consequences of classification. How might French speakers with an Arabic accent be treated? How might Russian speakers with a Ukrainian accent be treated? Could people be treated differently by systems that use voice technology based on their accent. How we structure voice data can lead to accent bias in the real world. This tension, the double-edged nature of how we represent accents, gives rise to several provocations for both policymakers and data practitioners. And at the heart of voice and speech data is provenance. From whom does the voice and speech data come? And how might we represent that provenance? How might that provenance be implemented into tool chains for machine learning? And what might reflective practice look like for machine learning practitioners in this space? Reflective practice, the ability to reflect on how we think, how we feel, how we act, and the assumptions we might be making, is a core part of practice in social disciplines like nursing and sociology, but it's quite absent from that of machine learning. And from a policymaker perspective, how might policymakers identify the relevant accent categories for their locales and contexts, the publics they serve? And how might that flow through to evaluation tools like bias corpora? And when we consider how data is now an asset, traded, bought and sold, combined and assembled in ways that are not always commensurate, what data sharing constraints are appropriate for voice and speech data? And I warmly welcome your thoughts on these provocations.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kathy. And then finally, I would like to invite Memunat Ibrahim to our virtual stage. Memunat is also from the ANU School of Cybernetics, and her talk is titled, "What is Trust? A Review of Trust Definitions in Autonomous Vehicle Research." Thanks so much, Mem.
Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Memunat. I'm a PhD student at the School of Cybernetics under the supervision of Dr. Liz Williams. So I'll try to summarize my talk on what is trust in autonomous vehicles research. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting and pay my respect to the elders past, present, and emerging. Okay. So yeah, in the talk, I gave an overview of what automations are and the fact that they are becoming more active and probabilistic due to the introduction of machine learning. Yeah, so due to the integration of machine learning, hence they may behave unpredictably when used at scale. So a category of automations are called the cyber-physical social systems. They are cyber-physical systems that are used by humans in their social environments. An example of that are autonomous ground vehicles. And due to the safety critical nature and relative unpredictable nature of autonomous ground vehicles and the context in which they are used, which is the road, people are usually hesitant to use them. And it has been found in literature that trust can enhance people's adoption of autonomous ground vehicles. However, what trust means varies, and it depends on the context in which it exists in. But it has been found that trust usually exists in relationships, and there are usually some uncertainty, risk, and vulnerability involved in those relationships. We also have to know that trust is an important human value that drives our reliance in others, whether humans or automations. Hence, many researchers have been researching how do we make human trust automations and then use these automations. A literature review was conducted by Hoff and Bashir, and they found that the trustworthiness of automations usually vary both based on these three dimensions, which is the automation, the environment or context of use, and the people that will be using and trusting them. In essence, for us to really understand what the trustworthiness of automations are, we have to consider these three dimensions holistically. And they presented some trustworthy design factors for automations based on the research that have been presented by researchers. They include appearance and anthropomorphism, ease of use, communication style, transparency, and feedback, level of control. So for me, I was interested in autonomous ground vehicles specifically. So I did a scoping literature review on what the design factors are for autonomous ground vehicles. And I found that in addition to the factors listed by Hoff and Bashir, familiarity, driving scenario, driving style, safety, prior experience, perception, and the other was including social and cultural factors influence autonomous vehicles trustworthiness. However, we need to remember that vehicles are global technologies and they are used in diverse societal contexts, but this is not reflected in the current autonomous ground vehicle design research. There are still contexts, cultures, and societal perspectives that are still under researched. And given the 3 dimensions that I've highlighted so far, we need to keep this in mind while thinking of the trustworthiness, like designing trustworthy automations. I finished the presentation with some questions, which I did not add in this slide because I thought it's a 3-minute stuff. But yeah, thank you. Sorry.
No problems at all. Thank you so much, Mem. So I've had 3 fabulous mini talks summarising the longer ones that you can look at in the program. And I'd now like to open the floor up to discussion. You may put your hand up or put your comments in the chat, whatever you prefer. Who would like to ask our first question? Great. Nick.
Can I ask a question from the panel?
Of course you may. This is a conversation.
There you go. I watched Kathy's talk yesterday and I really liked it. I had one question. It's kind of all related because you mentioned it in your talk. You talked about data sheets for linguistic accents. Do you see accents as posing a different kind of problem from other problems that you have in sort of machine learning pipeline data management stuff? So do accents propose something different, or is it like fundamentally different than, let's say, image labeling or a lot of these, because there's a lot of these like sort of data pipeline problems in ML. I'm just curious if accents pose a unique problem in some way. I think you kind of hinted at it with the language code stuff, like there's not a framework for doing it, but I wasn't sure. I was just kind of curious.
Firstly, great question. Thank you, Nick. So I think voice data shares some commonalities and also some differences with other types of data. So if we think about some of the classic cases in algorithmic fairness and algorithmic justice, we start to think of things like postcodes being proxies for race, predominantly because people of a particular race inhabit a particular postcode or a zip code. Some people might call a postcode a zip code. We start to see certain commonalities there with voice data. So, for example, there are lexical patterns that are used in particular socioeconomic circles that we can pick up in accent and in what people speak. So, for example, I'm trying to think of a great example that's relevant for this audience. All right, so the French example of Verlan. So this is a lect that grew up in lower socioeconomic classes in Paris, in particular migrant communities. And so if somebody is speaking with this particular lect, we can place them socioeconomically, we can often place them geographically. Some recent work that I've seen from some work that's coming out of America at the moment is looking at linguistic epicenters. So we start to see lexical changes that dissipate like the ripples of an earthquake. And so by looking at the epicenter and the ripples, you can start to locate people as well. So there's some commonalities, but there's also some differences with voice data. For many of us, we've lived in different countries. I know, Nick, you've lived in different countries and cities, and we pick up different parts of accent as our accents change. I often used to tease my sister. My sister learned to speak in the North of England, and she still has Geordie dialect, and so I used to tease her about that. And then other colleagues have moved from Australia to the United States, and they're dropping their Australian twang and they're picking up, you know, the Californian twang. So our accent can change over time as we change, but that's also common with other types of data as well. You know, our faces change as we age, unfortunately. The other useful things about, or the other things that I would see that differentiate with accent is that accent is socially influenced. So another, I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. Is it Elizabeth Holmes, the lady who led Theranos? And she cultivated a very deep baritone voice, you know. So she was able to influence her voice. And I wonder whether that was a socially influenced change as well. So to recap, I see some commonalities, but also some distinctions with voice data that separate it from other forms of data.
Thanks.
Thanks for that, Nick. Thank you very much, Kathy, for that response. Other questions, comments? Liz.
Yeah, I have a question for Nick. In your talk, you were talking about working with organizations to elicit fairness concerns. So let me make sure I've got this right. These will be used to define your fairness agents, right?
Right, that's the idea.
Yeah. Okay. So what does the process for that actually look like? So is there interview data involved, or like multiple choice questions? Like what does this look like in practice?
Do you want the messy practice of actually working with a 501(c), or do you want the idealized academic version of that practice? Because there's two different answers right now.
I like the messy world, so you know, I don't know how much time we have though.
Yeah. So so I think we've been talking to Kiva for over 2.5 years about this project, and actually it was, I think, happening about a year before I even came on the project, when I was asked to kind of add sort of the more algorithmic social choice type topics to the project. But Robin and Amy have been working with Kiva and trying to get things going. Probably shouldn't say too much, but there's been some turnover. As you know, there's this whole great resignation thing going on. Once we finally got funding, Kiva's actually a co-PI on our grant from the NSF, but just working out, our main point of contact left, and now we have a new point of contact. And then how do we get a hold of not only, so it's going to be a lot of interview data. Amy, that's her main, bag there. So it's a lot of interview data. I don't think there's any multiple choice. It's all long form interviews. We're trying to interview folks at the C-suite executive level at Kiva, as well as the folks that actually design and implement the algorithms, and the individual product managers. In addition to that, we're trying to both work with lenders, so client folks that use the website. So we have a group of users that Amy's going to run user studies with, specifically how they perceive fairness on the website, what their ideas around what is fair, what is not fair. And then with also a select group of loan providers, who are the folks that actually go out into the communities in Africa and South America, in all kinds of locations, and actually work with folks to come up with the loan packages that then go up on the website. And so really, Amy's got this whole organizational flow chart that includes, almost every version of the stakeholder and different interview processes for all of those. And, she comes to the meetings and sort of presents about what it's all going to take. And it always blows my mind. And the amount of just organizational stuff that really goes into, the fact, trying to work with a real world context. I have a lot of respect for the work that she's doing in that space. And so it's really interesting to see up close. I know kind of in theory how it works, but to see it up close at like weekly meetings, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would go insane.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that then? How would you think about, so that's a lot, and I know that's a lot. I'm wondering about what that looks like at scale, or is this something that you want to roll out beyond Kiva, for example, and how would you think about doing that?
So I think part of what the reason why we're going for so much with this project is to figure out where maybe the more important bits are, right? Is it, do, like, within the organization, do sort of the frontline engineers and the managers have similar views of what their work should encompass in terms of fairness? Do you see commonalities across some of your user groups, and can we abstract from those? So I think we're doing more than what one would hopefully have to do in order to try to sort of say, okay, what are the lessons learned from this? And if you were going to go try to do this in your organization, could you do this in a much more focused way? And that's part of the proposal for what you're doing. What we're doing is to look, almost look more broadly than one would need to in order to understand, what would be some kind of implementable practice for other organizations. So that's the goal. I mean, fingers crossed it works out. It's a 4-year project. We're like in year 6 months, right? So let's see how it goes.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nick and Liz, for those questions. Fred, and then Mem.
So all 3 talks really interesting. Thank you. My question is for Kathy. There has been extensive work done on voice forensics, which allows us to actually pretty accurately estimate the physical characteristics of people, including their age and their weight and their height and so on and so forth, not to mention their national origin and so on. That raises serious privacy concerns. How does that overlap with the kinds of things you're interested in?
Sure. Great question, Fred. Thank you. The way that I'd like to answer this question is to relate it back to one of the concerns that Nick raised about the fairness debate. So Nick critiqued the individual fairness versus group fairness constructs and how they're inadequate for dealing with the social world. And here we have again what I see as an example of individual fairness versus group fairness. So identify individual characteristics where accent is part of group membership, and needing to be fair to group memberships. There's a couple of other comments that I would like to make there. One, I think this also ties into the discussion that we're starting to see, the critique around having one piece of data that acts as a proxy for another, where we start to go back to things like chronology and, by understanding the shape of your head, I can tell, how you think or that sort of thing. I think there's an incredible danger of trying to predict sets of data as proxies for others, where that is not generalizable, because we start to make distinctions and we start to make decisions that are not generalizable to every context or to every cohort or to every population. So I think there's some incredible dangers by going down what I call the quasi-phrenology path. The other concern I have with some of the technology that does speaker identification is in the data sharing piece. So in one of my slides, I talked about data sharing. What we're starting to see now is data sets being shared and aggregated, or I'm trying to find a very good word here. There's a word in linguistics called agglutinative, but it basically means where you tack everything on together. And I think that's a very good word for what I'm looking for here. We're starting to see data sets get tacked on together to do all sorts of different things, but the data was never collected for that purpose. So let's say you have a data set that was collected for speech recognition, for training speech recognition models. And now what you're trying to do with that data is identify characteristics of the speakers where that data set was never intended for that purpose. So I think there's a danger in going down that path as well, because the data is straying from its intent and purpose. So major privacy issues, major fairness issues. And I have to ask, where is the regulation in all of this? Sorry, I covered a lot of ground there, and I'm not sure that I linked it all together.
Thanks very much, Kathy. Fred, did you want to say something, or should I move to Mem?
No, that definitely covers a lot of ground, and all of the questions are interesting, and you know, we just keep on opening questions, which is good. That's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we get a few answers as well.
Great, thanks, Fred. Mem.
My question is for Kathy. I enjoyed your watching your presentation, Kathy, and one question I had when I saw that you were trying to like address biases in voice data was the fact that you mentioned the fact that data collection, like the data collection and annotation process is also like one of the problems or one of the ways, yeah, the problem is gotten. Then I could not help thinking about some communities who don't want their data to be collected or their voices to be recognized, while there are others who we need to collect more data about them because they are discriminated against by these technologies. So I don't know, have you considered this, and how do you think like biases in these technologies can be addressed in a more respectful manner?
Oh, so another great question. Thank you, Memunat. There's two broad areas that I want to talk about in response to that question. I don't cover it in my talk, but I think what we're getting towards there is a topic called data sovereignty. And this is gaining more and more traction, particularly in the fair ML and fair AI space. And data sovereignty is all about ownership and custodianship and stewardship of data, and really who owns the data, who has the rights to use it, and the products that are built and that come downstream of data. I think a beautiful case of this is the work that Keone Mahalona does with Te Hiku Media in Aotearoa, just over the ditch. And the resistance that that group has had to allowing the Maori Indigenous language, Te Reo Maori, from being collected and from being used to build digital products, which are then sold back to the Indigenous community, or which are used in ways that don't directly benefit the Indigenous community. So I think there's a massive question there. I think the other thing, apart from data sovereignty, that I think ties together all three of our conversations is if we start to think about fairness in Nick's talk and Mem trust in your talk as emergent properties of systems. So I know that the Santa Fe Institute is starting to do some work that casts trust as an emergent property of a system. And when I read Nick's talk, I started to think about fairness as an emergent property of socio-technical systems. And Mem, I think a lot of the work that you were talking about with trust in autonomous ground vehicles is casting trust as an emergent property of systems. So I think fairness and trust are all contextual, they are situated, and they require the participation of the community to emerge from the system. I think that's a very good place to end that response.
Great, thank you. Now we have a question in our chat from Lorraine. So it's a couple part one. So first of all, for Kathy and Nick, you've both mentioned the importance of reflexive practice for doing real world research. What does this look like in practice for you or your research? And then for Mem, how might reflexive practice play into your exploration of trust in different contexts? So who would like to start with that one?
I can go first.
Great.
I think for mine, firstly, from the research I've conducted so far, I've come to realize that how we talk about trust and the requirements, or like how we represent them as like technical or not technical requirements of systems, are usually a reflection of our assumption of what trust is. So they reflect what we are looking out for when we are like investigating trust. So for my research, where I see reflectivity coming in is trying to like recognize how I'm thinking about trust and how that is influencing what I'm looking out for in systems or people's action, and try to see how I can document that and communicate that throughout my research.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Cybernetic feedback loop. Nick or Kathy, who would like to go next?
I can go for a second. So I was a little confused, Lauren, but yeah, so in terms of reflexive practice for the research or reflexive practice for systems, and I think at one level, I guess I'll answer both questions briefly. So at least for research, I think a lot of it comes down to trying to, at least for me, trying to see the research through to a deployed system. I think a lot of times, especially if you see, a lot of times I'll characterize bad algorithmic research, bad CS research to some degree, is, you know, it's very ivory towery. Like, I'm going to sit here and think about what fairness should be as some minute, some disorder of the system or some sort of technical property, and I'm going to sort of do a bunch of math, or I'm going to build a thing that guarantees some small property, right? But there was no reflexive practice in terms of, is that definition meaningful? Is that definition meaningful for the users of the system? Is that definition meaningful for the deployers of the system? Or did you just sort of make this up, right? And so sometimes that can be good, and sometimes it can be, I think damaging in some way. And I think that some of the best work you see in a lot of this algorithmic fairness type space is really these multi-stakeholder teams, like Ashish, like a lot of the group at Stanford, that includes lawyers, that includes people that are in participatory design, that includes community leaders, right? That really is inclusive, because I think so many of the problems that we're running into are because, as a CS engineer, I can say this, folks that think they know more than everybody else walk into the room and tell everybody else what to do, and a lack of humility in that process, especially when it comes to applied research, is where that practice needs to change. I think personally, that's my 2 cents.
Great, thank you, Nick. I think humility and how we apply things is really important. Kathy, did you have some perspectives on this one?
Sure. So I think when we refer to reflective practice, I think there's a whole, quite a few pillars that reflective practice is a ribbon around. And I was reflecting on this the other night. For me, I think there's a bit of a pyramid, and reflective practice is like building layers in a pyramid. I think at the base of that layer is really about values, and how do your values both align with your research choices, the way that you approach research, the way that you approach relationships with research partners. And so your values inform your practice and the choices that you make in your practice. But your values and your perspective also inform the choices that you see. And sometimes we don't necessarily see all the choices or the approaches that we actually have open before us. So I think for me, reflective practice is really about building that pyramid. And if I draw a ribbon or tie a bow, I'm mixing my metaphors here terribly. But if I draw a line around that, to me, reflective practice is around building a pyramid of good judgment as a practitioner and as a researcher.
Thank you, Kathy. We have another couple of questions in the chat, and both, I imagine, are for Mem. The first one from Ned is, Mem, did you come across differences in definitions of trust in autonomous vehicles by location, e.g. European, US, Asia or Africa? And I might actually give you the second one, because I think in some ways it's kind of linked. Nicholas, did you want to actually talk to this, or are you happy if I read it out?
I would be very happy if you read it out.
All right.
But if
no, that's fine. So yeah, Nicholas has had a hard time in trying to imagine an autonomous vehicle for where he is in Benin, and that it'll probably quite soon crash into a motor taxi or into an indelicate, brakeless, huge overload truck, let alone trust. So maybe some reflections on, what you've seen and different countries, including across Africa.
Thanks. I think for Ned's question, based on the literatures I've read so far, mostly there are usually two most used definitions of trust for autonomous ground vehicles research, and they're usually the ones from Maya, which is from 1996. I don't have the definition on my head. And the other one is from Lee and C, and that one is more specific to automations, while that of Myers and his co-authors was from human-human relationship perspective. I think what I can find that has been different for different locations are the factors that have been found to influence autonomous vehicles trust. So what has been found in places like the Europe or the US is different from Asia and other places. While the ones so far I've only found 3 literatures from Africa, and they were mostly looking at how people perceive autonomous vehicles and if they will use them. And it was all the papers were based on surveys and trying to test the hypothesis that has been put forward by previous researchers. And in the end, they concluded it was similar. So most of the papers I've seen from Africa were not exploratory. We're basically building on existing literatures from other regions. So yeah, while the definitions are everyone is relying on the same definition mostly, but the factors have been found to differ sometimes in different contexts. Then for Nick's questions, it's not a question, it's actually a comment. I think mostly when we talk about autonomous vehicles, people just think of self-driving cars. There are different categories of autonomous vehicles. Right now, you can have your car with some smart cruise system or some driving automation within it that help with your parking and other scenarios, other activities or functions. So in those cases, those are still autonomous vehicles being used in those contexts. So it is the level of automation the level of automation that determine how much activities it can take on its own. And probably you'll be having them in your areas in, 10 to 20 years time, the fully autonomous ones. But I feel a lot of places already have the less autonomous versions in their areas or communities.
Great, thank you, Mem. And we have another one for you as well. This one's from Tom. So human drivers currently have to trust other human drivers in certain ways and to a certain extent for vehicular transportation systems to function efficiently and effectively. How is the nature or extent of this human-human drivers trust that exists now similar or different to the kind of trust that we might need for the human-machine drivers for automated vehicles to go to scale?
I think that's a very good question. So what trust in human to human drivers look like, I don't even know. And that's one of the things I hope to explore and find in my literature, but specifically to Nigeria now. And then for the ones of how will it be similar or different, the kind of trust we need for human machine drivers. I don't even know what kind of trust we need for human machine drivers at the moment, but I guess we'll get to find out. But I think there will be need for lots of contextual research, trying to understand contextual research, trying to understand what these trusts are for different road contexts in different places, and how we can design autonomous ground vehicles that would behave in socially acceptable manner in these places.
That's great, thank you, Mem. I think that concept of acceptable is one that hasn't necessarily come up so much in our discussion yet, and it kind of goes to the crux of many of those questions about, you know, you're all talking about whether it's fairness or diversity or trust. You know, was an acceptable level of this to move on particular decisions or actions that we might need to take. We have about 5 minutes remaining for this session. Does anyone else have any other questions? Would panelists like to ask a question of each other again or make any final statements?
I actually had a question for Nick.
Great.
I enjoyed watching your presentation, and one of the things I noted was the fact that you said, I'm trying to look for where I noted this. Yeah, you mentioned the fact that there'll be aggregated preferences of fairness agents in social choices. So I was curious about who the fairness agents are and how you're going to go about like recruiting them or getting them.
Yeah, so it's one of the things to kind of get a little bit more into the weeds. One of the things, if you look at a lot of the kind of the technical work, a lot of times what happens in some of this technical work in fairness, especially for recommender and matching systems, is they say, okay, here is a definition of fairness. We want you know, parity between men and women items in this recommendation or something like that. So we're going to take that and we're going to encode it as an optimization objective in our recommendation algorithm, and that's all we're going to do. So the problem with that is, right, like now if you say, oh, well, really what we want is we want 60-40 women to men, right? You've got to go in and change it. Oh, there's another gender, we have to add that, right? Like there's another, you know, and so every time you have a definitional change, you have to go re-engineer, you know, your algorithm, and this gets problematic if your algorithm is some sort of large learning-based system where you're going to have to go redo some kind of regularizer on that. And so the thing that we're trying to do, or the idea that we had, and it might not work, is, you know, instead to sort of encode these ideas as what we call fairness agents, right? And then use something like a voting rule, use some kind of aggregation rule that has particular properties to aggregate the views of those fairness agents. And so that's what the goal of doing the stakeholder interviews and things is, to come up with ideas of what those fairness agents are by virtue of like what the views of folks that participate in the market think is fair, right? So for instance, you could have one fairness agent that says, okay, if I'm going to recommend you a slate of loans, it should contain one loan from every country that we represent as an organization, right? So then that fairness agent, so to speak, is just voicing that concern. So any recommendation that goes out of the system that doesn't contain one loan from every country represented in the system as part of the slate, you know, it says, okay, well, that was an unfair thing, and it's got some sort of loss function or some sort of we sort of just have a normalized loss value there. It sort of says, hey, that wasn't fair, right? And by the same token, you could have one that says, okay, well, every recommended slate that comes out of the system should have you know, parity between men and women base borrowers, right? And if slates go out that don't meet that, you know, those are sort of tagged by the fairness agent to say, okay, well, that's not what we thought of as fair. And that's the way we kind of envision it. And hopefully we can use ideas from sort of proportional representation, these ideas from social choice theory to help promote, you know, because sometimes these aren't going to be compatible, right? And so to sort of balance between these in this sort of online system, you know, this dynamic system that happens at scale, hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you, Nick. I believe there's a comment in the chat, but as we're at time, I think I'm going to move to close this session now. So I'd like to thank all of our panelists very much for their excellent presentations and all of that participation and discussion today. And thank you so much to everyone for your questions.